What is going on, everybody? In today's video, we are hopping into a 12-team full PPR fantasy football mock draft for the upcoming 2025 fantasy football season. For the purpose of today's mock draft, we'll be drafting from the 1.12 overall, rolling with one quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, a tight end spot, two flex spots, and 5 bench spots. I do have mock draft strategy videos done from the 1.1 through the 1.11 that I will link down below for you guys as well. And we'll be rolling through a draft strategy today that I think will help you guys throw together an amazing squad for the 2025 fantasy football season. If you guys are new to the channel, this is all we do here all year long, free fantasy football content. Redraft, Dynasty, and Best Ball. If you're into that, be sure to subscribe on the way in. All right, so let's not waste any more time. Let's hop right into today's mock draft. And drafting from the 1.12 overall, I mean, I always like the end of the first round, like regardless of what offseason we're in, but this year especially, I absolutely love the end of the first round because I think in a lot of situations, a lot of mock drafts, you're in a very good situation to start off with two of my favorite draft strategies, one being a double wide receiver start because there's just so much talent and upside at the wide receiver position through the end of the first round, bleeding into the second round. You look at this tier right here. Nico Collins, not always here at the 112, but when he is, he's going to be a smash draft selection. Brian Thomas Jr., Drake London, AJ Brown, Ladd McConkey. I love this tier of wide receivers. And when you do see guys like Ashton Genty or maybe even Devon Achane, Christian McCaffrey be selected in the first round, and I guess to a degree, Brock Bowers, who goes at the 111 in this draft, you're going to be in position to potentially draft one of those guys, as well as names like Ashton Genty and Derrick Henry as well. And now Derrick Henry, Devon Achane, both on the board here. We're going to go in and take Nico Collins and Brian Thomas Jr. back to back. But if you wanted to go with one wide receiver, one running back, and roll with what I call a bounce back strategy, where you either go wide receiver or running back in the first round, then do the opposite in the second round, so on and so forth, I think that's completely fine here as well. You start with Nico Collins, get a guy like Derrick Henry or Devon Achane. You have an incredibly safe floor in terms of your RB1 with Derrick Henry, or even an amazing amount of upside, in your RB1 with Devon Achane. But for me, full PPR, these two wide receivers, it's just too much talent, too much upside for me to pass on. Nico Collins, Brian Thomas Jr., two players I've been talking about all offseason long that I absolutely love. The value is way too good here, and we are off to a great start. So now the question becomes, what are we going to do here at our next turn at the 312 and the 4-1? Once again, I would basically look at this in the same exact sense, right? You're going to need to take a running back here. And then we're probably going to take a wide receiver at the 4-1, but you could also even things out here and take two running backs in a row. We're not going to select again till the 5-12 overall. We will see quite a bit of a dip at the wide receiver position, but I love Breece Hall in this range. I'll smash the draft button on him every single time here. And there are two other running backs that I really like right here in James Cook and Kenneth Walker. I also like Alvin Kamara, and I think that down the stretch, Omarion Hampton's value is perfectly fine here as well. But we wanted to go with a wide receiver here and fill in that first flex spot. I think that is also completely fine. So whatever you like, whatever you prefer here, I am good with. I will say once again, there's going to be a steep drop off at the running back position by the time we draft again. And I think it's a little bit more drastic than the wide receiver position. But we look at available wide receivers here, Rashee Rice, Devontae Adams. Those would be my two selections. Then we kind of get into DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, Cortland Sutton, so far and so forth. I do like Rashee Rice a lot here. I think Adams is fine, but we're going to go in and take our RB2 in James Cook, who is another player that I think is being massively undervalued where he's being drafted right now. I understand there's the contract situation, and on top of that, you could argue for some positive regression here, or excuse me, just regression in general, not positive regression, because he did finish with 16 rushing touchdowns last year and 2 additional receiving touchdowns. But I'm just not worried about James Cook. I think he's an incredible value in the 4th round. And Breece Hall is a running back that I've talked about in a lot of recent videos. There's a lot of reasons why I like him as well, especially at that ADP. I think that Breece Hall is an absolute steal. So now we're circling back to the 5-12 and the 6-1 1. And what I would do personally here, we look at this tier of running backs. We got all the rookies and bleeding into some veterans, right? RJ Harvey, Isaiah Pacheco, Quinton Judkins, Aaron Jones, Traven Henderson, Tony Pollard, DeAndre Swift, Caleb Johnson. You could take one of those guys here if you wanted to, but I think in full PPR, what I prefer to do here is take 2 wide receivers, fill in both of those flex spots with the best available wide receivers. I like George Pickens here. I think there's enough upside here. This Dallas passing attack, they throw the football a lot, right? Dak Prescott hurt last year. Go back to the season before. Look at how much offensive yards Dallas had and how much of it was through the air. Dak Prescott, a top 5 fantasy quarterback that year. Listen, I like Pickens here. I'm completely fine with him as our first kind of upside swing in the flex spot. But then we have a lot of interesting names at the wide receiver position. Ted McMillan, Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle, Jordan Addison, Chris Godwin, Jerry Jeudy, and even Calvin Ridley, Roma Dunze, right? It's a pretty large tier of wide receivers, so to speak. I think Ted McMillan is perfectly fine here. I really like Jordan Addison in this range. I've talked about him in a lot of videos, but the wide receiver that I really like to take here in this kind of range that I don't think will be back available at the 7-12 is Chris Godwin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is an offense, once again, that's going to throw the football a lot this coming season. And Chris Godwin was the wide receiver in full PPR last year before week 7 when he got injured. I just think he's an incredible value, and all signs are indicating that he will be ready to go week 1. If he's not, then that's okay. We'll survive a couple weeks with no Chris Godwin. Okay, going into the 7th round here, we do want to take the best available running back, and I will say drafting from the 112 overall, it's a little bit steeper once you're getting into these rounds. So if you wanted to go with a running back over Godwin or Pickens there, that's okay, because now by the time we're drafting again, we're looking at Jalen Warren, Najee Harris, ETN, Cam Scatterbo, Javonte Williams. It's a drastic drop-off. If you're lucky, a guy like DeAndre Swift or Brian Robinson may stretch to the 7-12 here, but yeah, as you guys can see on the screen, did not happen here. So those first 2 running backs that you do take are going to be really important. Breece Hall, James Cook, I'm okay with them. But yeah, we obviously have a little bit less overall upside at the running back position. Then we look at the available running backs here. They're just not that great overall. Jalen Warren, Najee Harris, ETN Scatterbo, Javonte Williams. I think that it's better to not panic here and to kind of shift to another position and load up elsewhere. So we look at the top available wide receivers: Khalil Shakir, Jacoby Myers, Deebo Samuel, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs. And then we look at available tight ends: Johnny Smith, Evan Ingram, David Njoku, kind of the top of that tier. You could also consider a quarterback here, but I will go ahead and mention you don't need to draft a quarterback. I'm going late round quarterback here, and I still think we're completely fine. And you will see, the ADP of quarterbacks pushed up a little bit here, starting to go in the 2nd round. That's not happening in real mock drafts right now. Then whenever I do these mocks with the computer, we'll end up with not the exact quarterbacks that we would in a real draft. So just keep that in mind. But I will take Jacoby Myers here. I think Khalil Shakir is perfectly fine, but Myers is another receiver that I've talked about in these later rounds that I absolutely love going into this coming season. And then we'll go ahead and take our tight end 1. For me, it's Evan Ingram or David Njoku, and I'm a little bit higher overall on that Denver Broncos offense going into 2025. So we'll go ahead and take Evan Ingram as we approach the 9th round. All right, so moving into our 9th round selection, I would say I would be going back-to-back running back with these next 2 picks. We look at the roster so far, got our RB1 or RB2. We're loaded up at wide receiver: Nico Collins, B-Tom, George Pickens for some nice upside, then Godwin and Myers there. Kind of a nice combination, because if Godwin does miss some time, I think we still have a strong flex option in Jacoby Myers, and we have our tight end 1 in Evan Ingram. So we're okay at wide receiver. We've got tight end out of the way. We need some help at running back, to say the least. So I would just go with the 2 best available players at the position in your mind. I think Zach Charbonnet is a really good value handcuff here, as is Jordan Mason, Tajay Spears, Rashad White. But I think we'll get the most standalone value out of either Charbonnet, Mason, or Rashad White. So go ahead and take whichever one of those running backs you like the best. I think they are all completely fine right here. And then I'm going to reach against ADP here, and take J.K. Dobbins, because this is commonly where I'm seeing J.K. Dobbins go, somewhere between the 9th and the 11th round. If I, kind of pushed it here, he would probably fall to the 11.12 potentially. but I'm just not seeing that happen in real mock drafts that I'm doing with actual people. So I'm going to go ahead and take him off of the board as our RB4. And then going into the 11-12, we could take another running back, but I would say with this given strategy, we're just kind of in a position to play the waivers at the running back position. We'll go ahead and take a quarterback off of the board here, but at the same time, like once again, you're going to be able to implement this strategy and the draft strategies that you guys see in the videos linked down below and come away with a better quarterback even when you go late round quarterback. So Drake May, JJ McCarthy, T-Law, Cam Ward, Michael Penix, Stafford, it doesn't really matter here. You'll probably be able to end up with a quarterback, honestly, somewhere between the Goff and Stroud tier. And I would say a quarterback like Dak Prescott, even Caleb Williams, Brock Purdy is very doable here. Jordan Love, definitely. CJ Stroud, definitely. And you might even be able to land like a Kyler Murray or Justin Fields, Jared Goff. So don't panic too much there. But we'll take Drake May off the board kind of like as a placeholder. We look at available wide receivers. I really like Marvin Mims in this range. I think he is a player who's going to be able to come in as a wide receiver 2 for the Denver Broncos and have a very productive season. We could also go with, we got 2 of those Jacksonville Jaguars running backs here in Bashaw Tootin and Tank Bigsby. We got a handcuff in Isaac Arando, Austin Eckler, who could have some standalone value, Rico Dowdle, who I think is a strong handcuff for Carolina, but could also have standalone value, Ray Davis, Tyler Algier, both very good handcuff values at this point in the draft. So kind of look at available wide receivers, running backs, and make your decision. And I would say for this team, well, generally I would be more attracted to drafting Marvin Mims here, or maybe a guy like Christian Kirk or Rashad Bateman, kind of those late round flyer wide receivers that I like. I think for this team, we need to go and take another chance at the running back position. So we'll take Tank Bigsby off of the board and kind of hope in that Liam Cohen offense, he is the running back that emerges. I've called it the great conundrum throughout this offseason. What exactly we're going to do with this Jacksonville Jaguars backfield. We know that there's probably going to be a lot of volume to go around when we look at what happened with both Bucky Irving and Rashad White last season, but it's hard to say at this point in the offseason who it's going to be. But I like Bigsby as a player who has the potential to get some good volume in that offense and maybe take over ETN, at worst, take over some goal line work. Then we're going to end this draft with the best available wide receiver. Could really be whoever you guys like here. We're finishing with the final draft selection here in the entire draft, so it's not going to be pretty. Jalen McMillan, Adam Thielen, Wan'Dale Robinson, Xavier Legette, Quentin Johnston, Josh Palmer, D-Hop, Keenan Allen. It's not pretty whatsoever, but hey, maybe by the time that we actually start drafting, Keenan Allen has signed with a team and maybe it's a contending team, so we'll finish off with Keenan Allen, but it could be with any of those guys. Or honestly, if you want to just draft another running back there, I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. So there is the final look at the team and what we threw together for today. You will be able to implement this strategy, and the strategy is linked down below, and come away with a better quarterback than Drake May. But a lot of you guys out there high on Drake May nonetheless. You just look year after year. I always go late round quarterback. I mean, I have enough best ball entries. I'm in enough leagues that I do switch it up here and there, maybe go some builds with a mid-round quarterback, and in best ball, I will take some early quarterbacks to switch up exposure, but generally speaking, in my redraft formats, I'm going late round quarterback. You look at guys last year like Bo Nix, for example, Baker Mayfield, even Sam Darnold, right? Jared Goff. I mean, there are always players who hit the waivers or get drafted very late and are top 10 fantasy quarterbacks. So that's just how I roll. I'd rather load up at the running back and wide receiver position than generally I'm taking a mid-round tight end. And the tier that I'm kind of looking at right now is between Mark Andrews and David Njoku. Andrews, Ingram, and Njoku have been my main targets. You miss out on those guys. Kincaid, Kraft, Goddard, Ferguson are the guys that I look at. Or if you like one of those rookie tight ends, Tyler Warren, Colson Loveland, I'm fine with those guys as well. So Drake May at quarterback, Evan Ingram at tight end. We have Breece Hall and James Cook at the running back position. Charbonnet, J.K. Dobbins, Tank Bigsby as our bench running backs. Nico Collins, Brian Thomas Jr. This this is where the true upside on this team is at the wide receiver position, which in full PPR, double flex, I have no issue with. George Pickens, Chris Godwin, Jacoby Myers, and Keenan Allen on the bench. And don't forget, guys, if you are not pleased with this running back room, for example, you could have gone Nico Collins, then go Henry or A-Chain there at the 2-1, then going into the third round, still be able to land a Rashee Rice or Devontae Adams at the 3-12, then have your pick of Hall or James Cook at the 4-1. You'd still come out of the first 4 rounds with 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and maybe you'd feel a little bit better about your RB1, RB2, but I chose for a little bit more upside at the wide receiver position with Nico and Brian Thomas Jr., and then I am personally okay with Breece Hall and James Cook. Then we loaded up at the wide receiver position, got our tight end, and got some good value late round running backs, quarterback out of the way, and then just one kind of dart throw wide receiver to finish things off. So there you guys have it, a mock draft from the 112 overall as we start to approach the 2025 fantasy football season. If you guys want to see any of those other mock draft videos, I'll have them linked down below. You guys can also check out these playlists that will pop up at any point in time to check out all of our 2025 fantasy football content that we've put together for the upcoming fantasy football season. And if you guys are new to the channel, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button on the way out. All we do here is free fantasy football content, redraft, dynasty, and best ball. If you guys are into that, be sure to subscribe. And if you guys have any fantasy football questions, drop them down below. I'll answer every comment on this video as soon as I can. With that, I'll say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And remember, you saw it here on The Catch.